When a creature is confined and unable to escape, the brain goes feral. The absence of external stimuli from prolonged isolation not only just distorts their perception, but permanently impairs. Inside a mega building, you hear sounds of what seems like a paranormal event, manifesting down a dark corridor. Someone called for a possible sighting of a cyber psycho. Dwellers think it's a dangerous cryptid from folklore spawning from the shadows. We see a small child sprint briefly in fear just before a police radio can be heard close by.
Target neutralized.
But it wasn't a cyber psycho. It was just a child suffering from epilepsy. Shoot first, ask questions later. That's Max Tack style, typical. The lights in the city were killing him, torturing him. No one cared to treat his illness or hear his cry. It wasn't his fault, he's just a boy. The municipality of this city doesn't care about treating illnesses. If you can't afford it, you're just an infectious creature that needs to be put down. That's where the city's cyborg suppression unit comes in. Unbelievable how the city wanted 1 million eddies to start a treatment plan for this poor kid. It's disgusting. The only thing I hear are the words of objection echoing out of his visor.
What for? He's dead.
They didn't want to file a police report or bother with proper disposal. Brain matter, skull fragments splattered all over the floor. I've never seen a child's brain before. It was disturbing. The remains can no longer be identified. High-tech caliber shredder rounds made sure of that. Max Tack left the responsibility of the building custodians to clean up the mess after casually kicking a severed arm towards the dead body. He points towards a custodian with demand.
Hey you, clean this
A
up.
terrified custodian who witnessed the scene was convulsed in fear, barely able to hold his mop. Coroner services was no longer worth time or effort as the city didn't want to pay services. Their radio chirps again.
Sector Alpha secured. Roger that. On standby for further orders. Let's go, guys.
Using hand gestures to regroup after clearing a wisp of smoke from their auto rifle. The city was a neon behemoth, its pulsating heart a constant assault on his senses. The world outside was a blinding inferno, a cacophony of noise and light that sent his body into a convulsive chaos. The boy was nocturnal and dreaded the neon lights of the city. Whenever something bright flashed his way, he would seize up and nearly collapse. Living in darkness is painful solitude, but it was also a double-edged sword of the city's lights. His days were a monotonous rhythm of sleep and solitude. The only sounds were the distant rumble of a monorail, faint emergency sirens, and cars passing through a freeway. His epilepsy was a cruel master, a relentless tyrant that dictated his life. The slightest flicker of light could trigger a storm within him, a tempest of body and mind. He learned to fear the world by retreating in the shadows. His body bore the scars of affliction from the city. Bruises, cuts, and burns were constant companions. He had no one to tend to his wounds, no one to offer comfort. He was alone, on a solitary island in a vast ocean of humanity. Art became his solace. With charcoal and remnants of paper, he captured the shadows that surrounded him. His drawings were filled with a haunting beauty, a reflection of the world he knew. They were a silent cry for help, a desperate plea for understanding. He yearned for connection, but the world outside was a cold, indifferent place. People were mere silhouettes, faceless figures in a blinding world. He was a ghost in their midst, an empty plastic bag blowing directionlessly in an urban jungle. In the end, the city became a forgotten grave, a silent testament to a life lived in solitude and despair. The boy with epilepsy was gone, leaving behind only the faintest echo of a life lived in shadows and fear.